In 1998, a 7-year-old boy went on a camping trip with his stepmother. In 2005, a photograph found at an orphanage changed everything. When the search helicopters stopped circling, no one believed Emma Wilson. Her little brother Tommy was only 7 years old. In the forests of Oregon, on what was supposed to be a simple camping trip with their stepmother, he had simply vanished. He never came home. At that moment, Emma didn't know that the answers she would search for over 7 years would be hidden in a filing cabinet marked Confidential Adoptions. When everyone accepted that Tommy was lost in the wilderness, only she would refuse to give up. Tommy Wilson had disappeared without a trace that summer day. The cheerful boy who loved dinosaurs, who called Emma MM, who always saved her the last cookie, gone in an instant. There were search dogs, helicopters, volunteers combing the forest, but no body was ever found. This story isn't just about a missing child. This is the story of how family trust can become the perfect cover for the unthinkable. And sometimes, the person you trust most with your child's life is the one planning to steal it. But remember, this isn't just another missing person case. This is about a little boy who trusted the wrong adult, a sister who never stopped believing, and a system that almost let evil hide behind the mask of motherly concern. 7-year-old Tommy Wilson went camping and never returned. But he didn't die in those woods. August 15th, 1998. Portland's summer heat makes everyone eager to escape to the mountains. Emma Wilson, 18, waves goodbye to her little brother Tommy as he climbs into their stepmother Sandra's SUV. "Bring me back a cool rock," Emma calls out. Tommy grins and shouts back, "I'll find you the biggest one, MM." Sandra Wilson, 45, had married their father Robert just 2 years earlier after their biological mother died in a car accident. She seemed loving, attentive, always volunteering to take Tommy on special outings while Emma worked her summer job. According to Sandra's statement to police, they were heading to Mount Hood National Forest for a 3-day camping trip. Tommy was excited. It would be his first time sleeping in a real tent. Day 1. Sandra checks into the Zigzag Ranger Station at 2:30 p.m., signs the camping log with Tommy's name. Rangers later confirm seeing a woman with a young boy setting up camp at Site 47. Day 2. According to Sandra's account, Tommy woke up early and went to explore near the creek while she packed their gear. When she looked up from loading the car, he was gone. Day 3. Sandra reports Tommy missing at 7:15 a.m. Search and rescue mobilizes immediately. Over 200 volunteers, helicopters, search dogs comb 50 square miles of wilderness. For 5 days, Emma joins the search teams, calling Tommy's name until her voice gives out. The forest seems to swallow their words without an echo. Day 6. Search teams find Tommy's red baseball cap near a steep ravine, 2 miles from their campsite. Inside the cap, strands of his brown hair. Sandra breaks down crying at the discovery. "He must have fallen," she sobs. "The water, it carried him away." But something bothers Emma. Tommy was afraid of heights, would never go near a cliff alone, and he never took off that baseball cap. It was his favorite, a gift from their late father. Day 12. After finding no body despite extensive river searches, authorities declare Tommy Wilson presumed dead, victim of an accidental drowning. Case closed. At the memorial service, Sandra weeps appropriately, accepts condolences gracefully, but Emma notices something strange. Sandra seems almost relieved when people stop asking questions about that day. The official story states Tommy Wilson died tragically in the Oregon wilderness, another victim of nature's dangers. But allegedly, that same week, a clerk at the Zigzag Ranger Station later told investigators something odd. She remembered the woman and boy, but recalled the child seeming unusually quiet and withdrawn, not excited like most kids going camping for the first time. 7 years pass. 2005. Emma is now 25 years old. Every August 15th, she visits Mount Hood, leaving flowers at the spot where Tommy's hat was found. But Emma hasn't spent these years just grieving. Something about Sandra's behavior after Tommy's disappearance had always bothered her. In the months following the accident, Emma overheard Sandra making strange phone calls, hushed conversations about paperwork being processed and finding the right family. When Emma confronted Sandra about these calls, her stepmother became defensive and angry. "You're imagining things because you're grieving," Sandra snapped. "Stop looking for conspiracy theories where none exist." But Emma couldn't shake her suspicions. If Tommy really died in the woods, why was Sandra talking about paperwork and families? Why did she seem relieved when people stopped asking questions? This is why Emma chose to become a social worker specializing in child services, not just to help other families, but to understand the system and to position herself where she might find answers about what really happened to Tommy. Over the years working in Portland's child services, Emma has developed expertise in recognizing signs of illegal adoptions and suspicious placements. Her supervisor doesn't know about her personal motivation, but Emma has been methodically learning how vulnerable children disappear from the system. That spring, Emma's supervisor assigns her to audit files at St. Mary's Children's Home, Portland's oldest orphanage, as part of a state investigation into adoption irregularities. Emma starts examining old case files, looking for missing documentation and procedural violations. The work is methodical but important, ensuring vulnerable children have proper legal protections. She discovers several concerning patterns in a small number of cases: incomplete background checks on adoptive parents, missing court documents, and unusually quick placements for children who should have required longer evaluation periods. First red flag: 3 children listed with common Hispanic surnames, but with obviously non-Hispanic features and photos, all processed within a 6-month period in 9. Second red flag: several adoption files show payments to Bright Future Consulting, a company that doesn't appear in any state business registrations, but only appears in Portland area cases. Third red flag: these children's original intake photos often show them looking distressed or confused, but the documentation suggests they were surrendered willingly by family members. Emma's social work training raises serious concerns about potential identity fraud in this small cluster of cases. The pattern suggests a localized operation rather than widespread corruption. Emma's social work training raises serious concerns about potential identity fraud and illegal adoptions, but she needs concrete evidence to report to authorities. After weeks of internal debate, Emma decides to document every suspicious file methodically. Maybe her investigation can help other families find missing children. Then, on a rainy Thursday afternoon in November, she opens a file that stops her heart cold. The file reads, David Martinez, age 8, intake date August 20th, 1998. But the photo paper clipped inside shows her little brother Tommy Wilson, 5 days after he supposedly drowned in the Oregon wilderness. Emma's hands shake as she stares at the photograph. There's no mistake, it's Tommy. Same brown eyes, same small scar above his left eyebrow from when he fell off his bike, same gap between his front teeth. But according to this file, Tommy is David Martinez, an 8-year-old boy surrendered by his grandmother due to family financial difficulties. The intake date, August 20, 1998, exactly 5 days after Sandra reported him missing. Emma examines the file more closely. The intake form lists the surrendering guardian as Maria Santos, but the signature looks remarkably similar to Sandra Wilson's handwriting, which Emma knows from years of birthday cards and school permission slips. The file shows David was at St. Mary's for only 6 weeks before being placed with adoptive parents, Mr. and Mrs. James Rodriguez of Sacramento, California. Final adoption date, October 5th, 9. Emma's social work training helps her understand what she's discovered. This appears to be a small-scale child trafficking operation disguised as legitimate adoption, focused specifically in the Portland area. But the most devastating evidence is yet to come. Emma finds a medical evaluation form dated August 28th. Under notable physical characteristics, it reads, subject appears disoriented and repeatedly asks for MM and mentions going home to Portland. Her little brother was alive, scared, and calling for her while everyone believed he was dead. Emma photocopies the entire file, then methodically searches for related documents. She discovers that Bright Future Consulting appears in only 8 different adoption cases over a 3-year period, all involving children from the Portland area with suspicious backgrounds, a small but systematic operation. She also finds a financial record showing a $15,000 payment from J. Rodriguez to Bright Future Consulting, dated September 15, 1998, labeled as Adoption Facilitation Fee. Emma realizes she's uncovered a small illegal adoption operation that operated through St. Mary's Children's Home, but focused specifically on Portland area children. But more importantly, she now has proof that Tommy survived and was sold to a family in California. Her next step is obvious but terrifying. She needs to contact the Rodriguez family and confirm that Tommy is still alive. Emma finds their last known address through adoption records, 2847 Oak Street, Sacramento, California. According to public records, James and Carol Rodriguez, both teachers, with no prior children. But when she calls directory assistance, there's no listing for Rodriguez at that address. Property records show the house was sold in 2001 to different owners. Emma contacts a private investigator named Mike Chen, specializing in missing persons cases. "Mike, I found my brother who everyone thinks is dead, but the family who adopted him has disappeared. I need to know if he's safe." Mike reviews Emma's evidence and agrees to take the case. "Emma, if this adoption was illegal, the Rodriguez family might not even know Tommy's real identity. They could be victims too, or they could be complicit. We need to proceed carefully." 3 weeks of investigation later, Mike calls with disturbing news. "Emma, I found the Rodriguez family, but there's something you need to know. They reported David Martinez missing in 2001. They filed a police report saying he ran away from home at age 11. Emma's heart sinks. Tommy escaped or was taken again, and now he's been missing for 4 more years. Emma immediately contacts Detective Lisa Park, a specialist in child trafficking cases with Portland Police Bureau. "Detective, I have evidence of an illegal adoption operation involving my brother who was declared dead in 1998. That evening, they meet at Emma's apartment. She shows Detective Park the photocopied files, the suspicious financial records, and explains about the 8 cases involving Bright Future Consulting. Detective Park examines the evidence, her expression cautious. "Emma, I remember your brother's case from 1998. I was a junior detective then, and something felt off about your stepmother's story. So will you reopen the case?" Park hesitates. "Emma, what you've found is concerning, but we need more concrete evidence to build a case. One photograph and some suspicious financial records might not be enough for the DA's office. But this proves Tommy was trafficked. It suggests that. But we need witnesses, more documentation, or Sandra herself to make a case that will hold up in court." Emma feels frustrated, but realizes Detective Park is being realistic about legal requirements. 2 weeks later, Emma makes a decision that changes everything. She contacts investigative journalist Maria Santos at the Portland Tribune. "Maria, I have a story about child trafficking operating through our city's adoption system." Maria reviews Emma's evidence and agrees to investigate. "Emma, if this is real, it's a major story, but I need to verify everything independently before we publish." 3 months of investigation later, Maria's front-page story breaks. Local social worker discovers missing brother in illegal adoption files. The article includes interviews with Emma, copies of the suspicious documents, and expert analysis from child welfare advocates. The public response is immediate and intense. Portland Police Bureau faces pressure to formally investigate, and the mayor's office demands answers about oversight failures at St. Mary's Children's Home. "What bothered you?" Park pulls out a worn case file. First, Sandra's timeline had inconsistencies. She claimed Tommy disappeared at dawn, but other campers reported seeing a woman and boy at that site around noon the day before. Second, Tommy's baseball cap was found in a location that made no sense for a scared 7-year-old. She continues, "But here's what really stuck with me. Sandra insisted on having Tommy declared dead unusually quickly. Most families want to keep searching, but she seemed eager to close the case and move on." Emma's heart races. "So you suspected something?" "I suspected, but couldn't prove it." And then, Park hesitates. "Then Sandra moved to California and became unreachable for follow-up questions. My captain said without a body or concrete evidence of foul play, we had to accept the accidental death ruling. Only after the media attention does Detective Park receive authorization to pursue a formal investigation." "Emma, the chief wants this case solved quickly. We're opening an official investigation into your brother's disappearance and the adoption irregularities." After examining the financial records more thoroughly, Park makes several phone calls to colleagues in California. When she hangs up, her expression is mixed. "Emma, I've got some news. Sacramento PD confirms that David Martinez Rodriguez was reported missing in 2001. We've also found evidence that the adoptive parents were using false identification." "What do you mean? The Rodriguez family doesn't exist." James Rodriguez was actually named Kenneth Walsh, a man with a criminal record for child endangerment. Carol Rodriguez was Patricia Chen, who had been investigated for running unlicensed daycare centers. Emma feels sick, so Tommy was sold to criminals. It appears so, But there's more. Kenneth Walsh was arrested in 2003 in Nevada for child abuse. During questioning, he mentioned having purchased children through a Portland-based organization, but refused to provide details. Park shows Emma the arrest report. According to Walsh's statement, when David started asking too many questions about his past and threatening to contact authorities, they abandoned him at a bus station in Reno. So Tommy has been on his own since 2001. He was only 11 years old. Park nods grimly. Emma, we need to focus on finding Sandra Wilson and exposing this adoption ring. She's the key to everything, both Tommy's current whereabouts and the entire trafficking operation. Emma's mind races with horrible possibilities. Detective, what if Sandra was more than just Tommy's kidnapper? What if she was running the entire adoption ring? Park's expression changes. That would explain how she knew exactly which documents to forge and which officials to bribe. Emma, we need to investigate Sandra's background more carefully. They spend the next hour reviewing Sandra's history. Public records show Sandra Wilson has lived under multiple names, moved frequently between Oregon and Northern California, and has been married 3 times, always to recently widowed men with young children in the Portland area. This suggests a pattern, Park observes. Sandra may have been systematically targeting local vulnerable families to access their children for this trafficking operation. Just then, Emma's phone rings with an unknown California number. The voice she hears will turn their investigation upside down. The caller's voice is hesitant, young, and guarded. Is this Emma Wilson? I saw the newspaper article. I think I might be Tommy Wilson, but I need to know, why did our family give me away? Emma's heart breaks at the pain in his voice. Tommy, we never gave you away. Sandra told us you died in the forest. I've been looking for you for 7 years. That's not what they told me. They said you didn't want me anymore, that Dad remarried and started a new family. Detective Park signals for her team to trace the call while Emma tries to rebuild trust with her traumatized brother. Tommy, none of that was true. Dad died 3 years ago, and he never stopped missing you. I became a social worker to try to find you. Thomas's voice wavers. I go by Thomas Chen now. I've been in the system since the people who took me, since they abandoned me. Emma, I want to believe you, but everyone I trusted as a kid lied to me. Emma's heart breaks. Tommy, that was never true. I've been searching for you for 7 years. Thomas continues. She brought me to this place with lots of other kids, said I had a new family now. They changed my name, told me my old life was over. The people who took me, they weren't good people, Emma. Detective Park whispers to Emma, keep him talking. We need his exact location. Tommy, I'm here with a police detective. We found evidence about what Sandra did to you. We want to bring you home and make sure she can't hurt anyone else. There's something else, Emma. Sandra wasn't working alone. There was this man, Dr. Martin Blackwood, who ran a private clinic and handled the paperwork. He's the one who matched kids with new families and handled the money. But it was just the Portland area, maybe 10 kids total over 3 years. Park's expression changes immediately. She scribbles a note. Dr. Blackwood. We've been investigating him for 3 years. Thomas provides his address, a transitional housing facility in downtown LA. Emma, I've been trying to find other kids from that place. Some of them were taken from their families, just like me. We want to help stop this from happening to more children. 2 hours later, Emma and Detective Park are on a plane to Los Angeles. When they arrive at the facility, Emma sees her brother, now 14 years old, taller, but with the same brown eyes and that familiar gap-toothed smile. Their reunion is emotional but brief. Thomas has information that could expose the small but devastating operation. Dr. Blackwood kept records of his Portland cases, Thomas explains. Names, payments, locations. He had files on the kids he placed through Sandra and maybe 2 other people. But when one family started asking too many questions, he moved his files to a storage unit. Detective Park coordinates with LA authorities to provide Thomas with protective custody while they pursue the case. Thomas, we need you to help us find Sandra and Dr. Blackwood. Are you willing to testify about what they did to you and the other children? I've been waiting 7 years to tell the truth about what happened to me. That evening, Portland police searched the storage facility Thomas described. Inside, they find a smaller but still horrifying collection of evidence, photos of the missing children, forged documents, financial records showing over $200,000 in illegal adoption fees over 3 years, and documentation of the 8 Portland area children who were trafficked through their operation. Sandra Wilson's real name is revealed to be Sandra Martinez, and she has been operating under false identities for over 20 years. Dr. Blackwood is found at his Portland clinic and arrested without resistance. But the most shocking discovery comes when they examined Sandra's personal files. She kept detailed notes on each family she targeted, including Emma's family, Robert Wilson, recent widower, 2 children, substantial life insurance payout, target, younger child, higher adoption value, plan, marry Robert, gain legal custody, eliminate Thomas through accident. Emma realizes with horror that Sandra's entire relationship with their father was a calculated plan to steal and sell Tommy. 18 months later, Sandra Martinez and Dr. Martin Blackwood receive life sentences without possibility of parole for operating a child trafficking operation that affected 8 children in the Portland area over a 3-year period. During the trial, evidence reveals their localized operation. Sandra would identify vulnerable families in Portland, gain access to children through marriage or other trusted relationships, then arrange for the children to be lost or accidentally killed while actually transferring them to Dr. Blackwood's small network in Northern California. Thomas testifies courageously about his experience, helping prosecutors secure convictions against 3 additional conspirators, including a corrupt social worker and 2 adoption facilitators who operated specifically in Oregon. The Rodriguez family, revealed as Kenneth Walsh and Patricia Chen, received sentences of 10-15 years for child abuse and trafficking. Their testimony helps locate the 7 other missing children who were trafficked through the same small network. At Sandra's sentencing, Emma addresses the court. Sandra Martinez stole 7 years of my brother's childhood and 7 years of my family's healing. She turned our trust into a weapon against innocent children. Judge Robert Martinez, no relation to Sandra, delivers the ruling. The defendants exploited society's most vulnerable members, children who trusted the adults meant to protect them. This represents one of the most callous criminal enterprises this court has encountered. The Tommy Wilson Memorial Foundation is established to help families locate children trafficked through illegal adoption networks. Emma serves as director while completing her law degree. Thomas, now 16, lives with Emma and is slowly healing from his trauma. He speaks at schools about stranger danger and family safety. My sister never gave up on me, he tells audiences. Sometimes the people who love you most are the ones who refuse to let you disappear. This story isn't just about one missing child. It's about how evil can hide behind the mask of motherly concern, and how family bonds can survive even the most deliberate attempts to destroy them. Sometimes justice takes 7 years to arrive, but when it does, it validates every person who refused to accept he's gone forever as an answer. What would you do if a family member disappeared under suspicious circumstances? Would you accept official explanations, or would you keep searching even when everyone tells you to move on? Tommy Wilson didn't die in those Oregon woods. He survived, grew stronger, and helped ensure that other children wouldn't suffer the same fate. Sandra Martinez's crime was calculated and cruel. She turned maternal love into a tool for trafficking children. But Emma Wilson's determination was stronger. Her message still echoes. Never stop looking, never stop believing. Family love can survive anything. In Portland's Child Services Building, they don't just process adoption paperwork anymore. They also train workers to recognize signs of trafficking and illegal placements, and a promise that no child should ever be stolen from their family and sold to strangers. Emma visits Tommy's memorial tree every August 15th, not to mourn his death, but to celebrate his survival and their reunion. And every year, it grows a little stronger, reminding everyone that hope, like family love, never truly dies.